boring, soul-numbing, a place where nothing happens and where sterility reigns. That's how so many of us think of the suburbs. There's a famous quote about the suburbs. Suburbia is where the developer has the last laugh. The suburbs carry a certain sameness everywhere we go, a certain conformity. Every neighborhood feels the same. It's a place where the soul goes to die, or so we say. A place not as exciting as the city, but not as soothing as the countryside. You don't get the benefit of the open fields or of seeing the starlit sky at night. You also don't get the instant culture of the city. Often, suburbs are seen as the place where people go to when they become middle class, and a bit of a stepping stone towards eventually a life in the country, and that's how I viewed it anyway. But what if it isn't really that way? What if we could find peace in our suburban life? Today I think of my life in the suburbs differently. I think there's a certain peace in the boredom of the suburbs, and if you let yourself be present instead of wrapped up into constant longings for a different, more peaceful life, you can find peace and contentment right where you are. I think of it as the place where we can stop and rest, where we don't need to constantly be stimulated, and where we don't need to constantly be striving for even less stimulation. The place we can accept and learn to love for all its naive American dream kind of charm, past the rooftops and the sameness of the new builds or the cookie cutter appearance of the 70s builds. We can find the place where we can live the slow, peaceful life that we are striving for, a place where our souls can rest and thrive. Okay, here. Yeah. Hello everyone, I hope you're having a good day. My name is Nieves and I've recently left my corporate career and my job to stay at home and take care of my children, which includes homeschooling them. So on this channel I talk about the transition of being a working mother to reconquering my sense of self by pouring into my home, into my family life, and into my children. Sometimes I talk about our homeschooling journey, and sometimes, like today, I talk about embracing circumstances that you are in and living a purposeful and slow and present life. Hard to reach here. How about we go to the other tree?
Dropped on the ground.
It's okay. Today we headed to the woods near our home to forage for Saskatoon berries, and we've been blessed with them in abundance. We had a hard time reaching some of the higher branches, so we picked what we could. We wanted to make jam initially, but my children ended up eating them all. You don't need 5 acres and some hens and the cottagecore aesthetic to be able to slow down and live a peaceful life filled with contentment. You can find contentment and quiet in your small backyard. You can beautify and nurture your home so it becomes the sanctuary for your family, the place where you can stop and take a breath from the hustle and bustle of the worldly affairs. I spent the first part of my childhood on my grandparents' farm. My grandmother was a homemaker her whole life. She took care of the land, the animals, and her 4 children. And later she took care of me, her grandchild, and I spent there 5 days a week living with her as my parents worked out of town. She raised her children with my grandfather's modest income and her own bare hands. Those rough working hands that spend their days milking her cow, churning milk, sowing and harvesting vegetables and fruit, chopping and cooking, kneading bread, yet that still knew how to be tender when they needed to be. And I see my 5-year-old self there so clearly, unafraid to roam those country fields with other neighborhood children, sitting on the rooftop of their little house, eating mulberry off the tree, and filling up on plums. I've been restless a lot. I moved continents, countries, cities, and neighborhoods. I've spent many beautiful years in my 20s living the busy, fast-paced life in London. But deep down, I always longed for those days of my childhood. Dreaming of things is human, it's beautiful, and every reality starts with a dream. But while dreaming, it's important to not neglect where we are right now and to not put our life on hold. Because truth be told, time passes, and we can either choose to create the life we want with the blessings we've been given, or we can spend that time wishing things were different. You see how quickly our children are growing. My daughter turned 5 years old the other day, and I cannot believe it's been 5 years since I've held her tiny newborn self. And the next 5 years are going to fly by just as fast. Do I really want to be spending my time wishing to be in a different house, in a different neighborhood, in a different village? No. This is her childhood. This is all my children's childhood. And so I need to treat it with such respect that their childhood is a memorable, beautiful souvenir once they grow up.
But Mama, we're breaking the soil, we're wasting the soil, we're breaking the soil, doing everything.
Oh wow, I hope I can wash that dress off.
Surprise, Mama!
Thank you.
Monsters.
Watering and oh, you're monsters.
Oh yeah, I remember.
In the suburbs, I am surrounded by forests and trails. The river runs just a few minutes walk away from our house, and on warm summer days we love to walk over and sometimes catch the sunset. It is in this forest that we do our nature study, where we study the different kind of trees and plants and stop to smell the beautiful wild flowers that beautify the walking trails. In the winter, those trails are covered in a white blanket of fresh snow, and every day I go for a walk pulling my kids on a sled as snowshoers and country skiers pass us. Some of our neighbors even created a skating trail through the forest, and there's normally a large shovel left there so that anyone who uses it can shovel off the snow. I talk about this because there's such beauty in the community and in friendships you can build with your neighbors. We can make friends with our neighbors, or at least get to know them and be ready to extend hospitality and just help each other out. I had some leftover fake flowers from my daughter's birthday party, during which we made fairy crowns with those, and so I decided to spruce up our summer wreath by adding a bunch to it, and I think it turned out so beautifully. And it's just another reminder that you can use things you have around your house and beautify those things. You don't need to spend a lot of money. You don't need brand new things to make your house a beautiful place where you and your family can find rest, can find peace, and can find shelter from the rest of the world. The suburbs offer me a cozy, warm home. We hang bird feeders in our trees and keep a bird bath in the middle of our backyard. And it brings in all kinds of beautiful birds every day. Blue jays, cardinals, robins, goldfinches, chickadees, and of course squirrels and chipmunks. They all come to find some peace in our little patch of greenery near the city. I love lighting a candle, making myself a coffee or a tea, and settling down on the couch with a good book while the sound of rain drums on my windowsill. It makes the whole living room feel so peaceful and makes indulging in reading even sweeter. I love stopping to smell a rose bush, literally, and cutting them down to make room for new buds. I love bringing nature into our home. It's such an easy way to invite beauty inside. Being intentional about carving out time for nature that surrounds me is so important to me and my family life. Being out in God's world, taking the time to soak in His creation is at the heart of a peaceful and good life. My whole body feels so good when I step out into the forest barefooted and when I allow my feet to sink in the mud, to walk over rocks and to feel the freshness of grass. It's the place where the true form of my soul finds its peace. And likewise, my entire self feels so dysregulated when I'm out in the capitalist world of suburbia, waiting to order a Starbucks drink. So I make more time for those forest bathing walks and less time for strip malls. Taking the time to slow down like my children naturally do is always so worth it. Children are just naturally peaceful, naturally more content, and as mothers seeking to slow down, all we need to do is to go along to their rhythm. Extend your hospitality to family and friends, or make friends with strangers and invite them over for a meal or a barbecue. Get together in the beautiful sunshine or rain with people and use the blessings that you've been given to brighten someone else's day and alleviate their load by cooking them a nice homemade meal. In the fall, when the days are getting shorter, we love going for walks after dinner with flashlights in hand. The sky is dark and beautiful, and we often observe the phases of the moon and the different star formations. And my children love pointing out Orion's belt. I love the days when we never turn on the TV. I love when we disconnect from technology as much as we can. Even simple little things like using my hands to knead bread as opposed to my mixer makes the difference. Oh yeah, for your family members?
Yeah.
The other day I did just that, and my husband noticed and asked what it is I did differently because it's the best batch of dinner rolls that I've ever made, and all I did was just take the time to knead by hand. Everything made by your very hands is better than what a machine can do. So take the time to work with your hands, sew those buttons back on your dress, knead a fresh batch of bread, plant flowers in your garden and get your hands dirty in the soil, or paint along with your children. Don't be afraid to get in there and to get dirty. The key to living peacefully in the suburbs is really the same as everywhere else. It is being fully present, feeling the life we are so blessed to live with all of our senses, and connecting with our life and our surroundings and not outsourcing it to technology constantly. So if this means deleting our Instagram app off our phone for a little while or dumbing down our smartphone, then that's what we have to do. Maybe life in the suburbs is not boring. Maybe it's simple. Maybe it's not as aesthetically pleasing as a little cottage in the woods or as a little stone house on the mountains would be, but it's our very own home. We may not need to mill the grain to make our bread, but we can still make our bread with store-bought flour and enjoy every bite of our efforts. Maybe the suburbs are not filled with the excitement of the city, but they're beautified with splashes of orange and pink as the sun sets over a nearby river.